Greetings, everybody. Happy World Rock Day. So I just realized it was World Rock Day this morning when I was Googling. And so, of course, I had to do something about it. So I hope you're going to enjoy sketching with me. So I am choosing from my cabinet of curiosities of rocks, including this 10-pound piece of granite that I got in the Sierra Nevada in California, where I grew up. So, since today is super high temperatures in a lot of parts of the country, including here in Oregon, it's over 90 degrees, I thought you'd enjoy sketching indoors with me. So, I've got this collection of rocks from my cabinet of curiosities, and I always suggest that you collect things throughout the year to put in your cabinet or in your bookshelf, like I have here, so that you'll have something to draw when it's too cold or too hot, like today. And yeah, so we are going to be sketching. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you don't have any materials, that's fine. But I'm going to be showing you a few different techniques for fun that you can follow along with or do later on at your leisure, just to give you some ideas. And we'll be sketching a few different kinds of rocks and minerals, maybe a fossil, maybe some petrified wood. We'll see. But we'll be working in pencil and charcoal and pen and maybe even watercolor. So in the chat box, you can tell me if you know what kind of rocks you have where you live. Now, here in Central Oregon, we're pretty famous for our volcanoes. And I live right at the base of the Cascade Range of volcanoes that reach 12,000 feet high. In fact, some of them have snow on them all year long. So we've got lots of different kinds of volcanic rock here, from floating pumice to red cinder and black volcanic rock, all the way to shiny black obsidian. So really lucky here to have a bunch of different kinds of rocks to sketch. And some of the things I have are things I've just collected over the years, and I'll tell you about those as we're sketching. Okay, so we're going to switch over here to the solo layout. There we go, and we got our light there. And yeah, I think we got enough light. All righty. And so yeah, let's get going. Right, so I've got a whole bunch of cool rocks here. And as usual, I have my little sun icon to help us show where the sun is coming from, because it's a little bit flat light in here since this is my studio and I'm trying to have it well lit. I also have my little viewfinder if I want to show just a little part of a rock to really focus just on its patterns and textures. And I've got my little value scale to help me make sure that I show a full range of values. And again, just a lot of different things. I also have a cool magnifying glass, and this is fun to bring with you in the field. There we go, so that you can see things up close. So like this is a really cool metamorphic rock, and so is this one with a bunch of different pieces inside of it. Different colors. Yeah, I'm not going to be using any big terms because I didn't do very well in college in geology. So I forgot all those words, but we do have some cool crystals here from this rock and all kinds of stuff. And of course, we've relied on rocks and minerals throughout millennia. You know, in the very early years, we were drawing on cave walls with natural chalks and other sedimentary rocks like umber and ochres and siennas. And we made our first potions and lotions out of different minerals as well. So different types of rocks and earth formations have been important to us. And of course, a lot of the colors that we use for paints originally came from rocks, especially ground up sedimentary rocks like these. All righty. And so, yeah, let's get going. Hi, Carolyn, and hi, Joseph. Now, we're going to start off pretty easy. I like to move you into things easy. So this is one of my favorite skipping stones. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to a lake or a river and skipped rocks, but I have really fond memories of being a little kid, my dad teaching me how to hold the rock just perfectly and skip it. And we would have contests to see who could skip the rock the most times. So we're just going to start with this. And you see, let's see. Yeah, we have some pretty strong shadows here. So it looks like our sun is actually coming sort of from this way. So I like to just help people remember that. Okay. And so I'm just going to use this kind of a very soft drawing pencil. And, one of the reasons I love to have my students draw rocks, especially my beginning students, is that you really can't go wrong. It's not like trying to draw a pretty picture of your cat or your dog. And so it's really great subject for practicing. Almost as good as leaves, but even better than leaves, I'd say, because they just can come in any kind of shape and size and color and pattern. Like you see all of these cool ones here. So I really encourage you, if you're hesitant to learn to sketch, that you should just do it, with something simple like a rock. So we don't have to make this a perfect circle or anything. But so I've got sort of my oval here, and then I'm going to add some shading. And at first, I'm just going to use a middle value. And then I'll add my highlights and shadows. I guess I could keep some highlights over here. And so I'm just using the side of this charcoal pencil. And if you're following along, it doesn't matter if you're using charcoal pencil or graphite or watercolors or whatever. It's all the same concepts of trying to see shape and pattern, three-dimensional form, colors, all of that. Okay, and so I've just got that started. Now, if I wanted to blend that a bit, I could use my finger, but if I don't want to get my finger dirty, I could use a little blending stump. And so, and when I do that, it's gonna darken everything. But again, we can just be easy and fun with this. And yeah, one reason I love to draw things for my cabinet of curiosities is because it does remind me of certain things, like the memories of skipping stones with my dad. Dad passed away at the age of 89. And he would probably enjoy knowing that I was thinking of him today, sketching. And so, we can get this darker and kind of show the form of it. Now, when I'm drawing anything and trying to get the three-dimensional form, I will often touch it so that will give me a better idea of its three-dimensional form and its textures. So like this has some little dots in there, some little microscopic textures we can add. And so, yeah, we need to get a lot darker, don't we? So I'm just going to keep going. And I'm actually seeing the pattern on this paper come through a bit, which is cool. This is a watercolor, cold press watercolor paper. So, and I'm going to leave some of the highlight over here. So tell me in the chat box if you're going to follow along or if you are already. And yeah, again, I can go back and forth. I just love charcoal pencils because you can blend and blend them. And again, I can keep that light. And if I go too dark, I can always lift with an eraser. And I have several erasers I could use. I've got this eraser that's actually a pencil. And so if I wanted to lift up some more, or even kind of blend that softly, I can do that. I've also got other erasers like this kind of eraser. This is a kneadable eraser. And another cool thing about these is that you can use these to make something not move. Now, rocks aren't moving as much as seashells, which can roll out of the way really easily. But yeah. So anyway, now we can also see that there's some cool patterns here, these dots. So we could add some of those. And yeah, we can just have fun with this. It's super easy because, you know, rocks can be so variable depending on the conditions they were made under. Even the same kind of rock, like a volcanic rock or a quartz crystal, they're all going to look different depending on the heat and the pressure that was related to when they were formed. So that gives some cool patternings. Now, Carolyn says you have a few rocks from your granddaughter. Yes, wonderful. And you're going to sketch later. And Joseph, he's just listening today. Okay. So then we can add that cast shadow. Now we have some kind of weird cast shadows here, almost like the kind of cast shadows you might have during an eclipse. And we've been lucky to see a few eclipses lately here in Oregon. But generally, there would just be one cast shadow. And I think you can see it in the video. There's kind of a darker one here, but then there's some lighter ones because I do have some light bulbs coming from different directions. Now, looking at that, that shadow is a little bit different from the rock. It's a little bit darker and it doesn't have any patterning on it. And so I could actually go in with the edge of my pencil and just do that really dark if I want to. And I'm actually going to leave a little highlight. You probably can't see it, but I'm going to leave a little highlight between my shadow and the rock. And that's called bounce light. That's light that's actually bouncing off the table and going back up to the rock. And then I can soften the edge of my shadow a bit. And again, the shadow here in the studio is kind of weird. There's kind of some extra shadows over here like this because, again, I've got some strong lights here so that you can see what's going on here. Yeah, so that's fun. Right. Yeah. And if I wanted to, I could even add some other darker dots, maybe use this permanent pen. So we could, emphasize that there's these dots and you don't want to make them too perfect or too uniform. But just to give some more patterning, I just love rocks because you can do that. You can also add more patterning by adding a white pencil mark, like that. And you're going to see the most patterns, not in the deepest shadows or in the brightest highlights, but kind of in the middle. That's where you can see those the best. I like that. That's kind of fun, huh? What do you think? I like that one. So, you would do a very similar concept with this other kind of rock, which is very different, but it's still the same kind of idea, but you can have a lot more variation in the dark and the light. And there's even some kind of rusty colors in here. All right. Okay, now let's try something else. Now, here's a cool rock. Now, you see how this rock wants to roll away, and I want you to see this one cool part of it. So I am going to need to have this kneadable eraser. And let's see, should I leave this here for now? I think I'll just leave it here for now. So then when I squish the rock on there, you can kind of see it. Let me get that a little bit better. Yeah, isn't that cool? So that rock actually looks like it kind of looks like an eyeball, doesn't it? That's really freaky. Like you wonder how in the world was that made? So I've got another fun technique to do with that. Let's see, where's my pencil? Oh, okay. So I have these water soluble pencils, pens and water soluble pencils. So that means that you can add water to them with a water brush, and kind of also kind of get more patterning and things a bit quicker than actually drawing. Okay, Carolyn says, love it. Great. Okay, so yeah, I don't remember where I got this. I usually remember where I get my rocks. Like this one, this is very special to me. This looks like a piece of milky quartz or something. And you see how it fits exactly in my hand? Well, I got this when I was backpacking in the backcountry of Utah, where there were a lot of the Native Americans, like the Anasazi, and we were backpacking past these walls of rock that had a lot of petroglyphs. And we were walking along an arroyo. And this was kind of half sticking out of it. So I took it, and it makes me think that the way it fits perfectly in my hand, it must have been carved by a Native American, kind of like how they carved obsidian. What do you think? That's one of my favorite rock stories. Okay, so anyway, going back to this rock. So what I can do is I can use either one of these, this Derwent water soluble sketching pencil or the pen, or I can use both. Okay. And so, yeah, anyway, what I'm drawing might look a little bit different from what you're drawing because you're seeing it at a different angle, but that's still fine. Again, it's not like we're trying to draw cat faces. We're just trying to get the idea of three-dimensional form and just the interesting patterns. Okay, so I'm going to make a circle. And again, our sun is coming strongly from that direction. So I'm going to make a circle. And again, I don't want to make it too perfect. And again, if I were to touch this, I could feel like it's very round. It's almost the size of a golf ball, but there's definitely some sort of edges to it. Like this edge is steeper than this edge. And then, so we've got, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger, like life size here. And then it's got the outer circle that sort of looks like an iris. And then the inner circle that sort of looks like a pupil, like that, okay? And then kind of gonna do like I did here, shading, but then I'm gonna wet it and see what happens. And try not to be too perfect. And no, again, noticing where the light is coming from and where these edges are, if I feel them. So like this edge is in a little bit more shadow here, and this edge is exactly in a lot of shadow. This edge has a little bit of highlight on it. And then, yeah, so we've got that. Now, we could get the cast shadow, and that looks lighter as opposed to this where the cast shadow was darker. This cast shadow looks lighter, I think possibly because this rock is taller and it's also sitting on top of the kneadable eraser. So I'm just going to put that in there. I think both this rock and this rock are examples Well, maybe I don't know, but this rock is for sure an example where there's one kind of rock that's harder, and it somehow got inside this other rock when it was molten, kind of like when you're mixing up oatmeal and raisins for your breakfast, and the raisins don't melt, but the oatmeal kind of does, sort of like that. Okay, so anyway, so we've got that. And yeah, I could definitely go a lot darker, couldn't I? I can, when I look at when I turn my head and look at the screen on my computer, I can definitely see how much darker I need to make it. It's easier for some reason. So yeah, just really strong shadow over here and a pretty strong shadow down here. So then when I wet it with my brush, this is a brush I take in the field that has water inside of it. It's kind of cool. Look what happens is it instantly gets a lot darker. And yeah, I don't want to make this too exactly circular. So isn't that cool? So I love having techniques like these water soluble pencils and pens where you don't have to really, use your whole watercolor set, but it's just fun to paint a bit in the field and to get just a little bit more details without bringing the whole watercolor set out. Yeah. Now I think this the pupil, I mean the iris is still a little bit too clean. Not bright white like a healthy human eye. So I'm going to add a little bit edge there. There we go. So what do you guys think of that? Tell me in the chat box if you've ever used water soluble pens or pencils. And so you see how I didn't wet this one. And so that's, kind of fun that you can do that. And that will just keep it lighter and softer. I could darken the shadow a bit where it's closer to the rock because it is going to be a little darker. And then if I wanted to, I could mix in this water soluble pen. This is a Pilot razor point. And so, if I just wanted to add some emphasis here, I could, especially on this dark edge. And yeah, make it stronger. Yeah. Then again, if I want to wet it, see how dark that makes it. A lot darker. So you can mix those. And these water soluble pens, some of them come in different colors, but you don't quite know what you're getting until you take it home and practice with it. But some, when they're getting wet, they look a little bit purplish, and some just look gray. Okay, how's that? That's fun. All righty, good. Okay, so that was a couple different techniques there. Let me move this paper. Or no, let me see. I think I'll just put this one on top. Okay. So what else do we have here? Let's see. Yeah, this is a cool one. This one, to show you, this one has got crystals in it. I don't know if you can see those crystals. It's a little bit blurry, but isn't that cool? And another one I got in the field was this one. This is another piece of quartz. And I got this on the Yuba River Canyon, where there's sort of a cave and there's these quartz crystals. And I'm quite the rock hound. And sometimes I'll put rocks in my backpack and forget about them. And then take my backpack with me another day and forget that I have them in there and wonder why my pack is so heavy. That happened once when I was hiking at Zion National Park, and I was at the top. I got to the top of the mesa, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, why is this so hot?" Okay, so here's a fun one. So this is a petrified fish. And let's see, can we read this? This is from the Eocene, which I forget how long ago that was. Millions and millions of years. And this is a type of herring from the Green River Formation in Wyoming. Now, again, whatever materials you have, if you just have pencil, that's fine. Again, the whole idea is to just try to get some shapes and textures and three-dimensional form, and, you know, kind of think about, three-dimensional form. Let's see, can you see that better? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that's the herring. Okay. And so let's say that I found this in the field and I happen to have my watercolors with me. And so, you know, I might use a combination of a couple different watercolors like quinacridone rust, or this pyomontite, I think it's called. Now, some watercolors, especially those made by Daniel Smith, they're made with just one mineral, kind of like the mineral that I showed you in the vial that I've already lost. And so those are really cool because they separate out. Oh, in fact, I think I'm going to use this bumpier paper for this because that makes it even more fun. So the way your paintings turn out and your drawings too really depends on your type of paper. And so you can see, you might be able to see that this is a lot rougher. Yeah, Carolyn says, I found some at the beach. Yeah, that look like that. Oh, okay. All righty. So anyway, for fun, I could just take my paints here, and usually I have a little spray bottle to moisten them. I don't know where that is now. That's okay. But I could start with a pencil, but I don't want to be too particular. But let's see, we could get this oval if we want to. Now in nature, of course, this isn't going to be cut into an oval. They cut this to sell. But the oval makes it fun because there is actually an edge to this oval. So you could make kind of a more exact edge. So that's kind of fun to practice, and you can see, again, we've got our sun here, making that cast shadow. Oh yeah, Carolyn says you saw one like this. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, and so then, you know, we've got sort of a cast shadow coming over here and here. So then I will take some of this color, and I've got my little cheat sheet here. And so I think I'll just kind of use a combination of quinacridone gold and this quinacridone rust maybe. Oh, wait, that brush doesn't have any water in it. And that brush is sort of clogged. The joys of teaching. Now you see this is a bit too bright, but I like to start brighter and kind of more gaudy than things really are. Because you can always get watercolors to be duller, but you can't get the brightness back afterwards. Now I want to make it look sort of variegated because it is, you know, billions of years old or millions. I don't know if anybody could tell me when the Eocene was, but I'm just blending a little bit of this quinacridone gold with the quinacridone rust. And see, that's getting it a little bit more natural. And again, because this paper is bumpy, it's going to look different than if I painted on the other side. In fact, some papers do have a bumpy side and a flat side. And so if I was going to do the same thing on a different piece of paper with a flat, it's gonna look really different. It's gonna dry differently because the paint is going to settle into the little hills and valleys differently than it does on flatter paper. So you generally use different kinds of papers for different things, and I like using really bumpy papers for things like this. Now that's still a little bit wet, and so we want it to dry a bit before we add our fossil herring. We might want to add a little shadow, and I could use some of this actually shadow violet here. And oh, that's over here. I'm almost out of that. Or our neutral tint, let's say. And again, it doesn't matter what materials you have. The whole concept is just to try to render shape and texture in three-dimensional form with whatever you have. And you never know what you're going to have in the field. You might have forgotten some of your supplies or something. Okay. And then let's see, and then what else? Oh yeah, so a little bit of a cast shadow, and I'm trying to look at the screen, and it is darker, and it's a little bit, I don't know, maybe we'll make it a little purplish. That's fun. And yeah, I'm just kind of doing wet and wet. And our sun's coming from this way, so our shadow's a bit bigger there. So that's good enough. That's fun. Okay. Now, I'm still a little bit too bright. Maybe have some of this diatomite in there. Oh, that's better. And I also, if I want to, I can lift some of this and give it a little bit of variegation. Where can I do that? What can I use here? Well, I don't have my normal lifting stuff. I just have this little towel. But, if I wanted to sort of add some variegation to it, I could do that too. Yeah, I still see that looks just a little bit too bright, but that's okay. We don't care. We're just having fun. Now let's add our herring. And I'm just going to do that sort of wet in wet. So that's just a different, duller color. It does look like more of this warmer brown, this piemontite. And I might try to make him pretty dry. So I'm going to put my brush in here and dry it a little bit. And then just add the little fishy. And oh, that's a pretty good match, I think. So I'm just kind of doing this freehand, and it's sort of fun that it's sort of blurry because, again, this is a fossil that's from the Eocene, whenever that was, millions of years ago. And so it's going to be a little blurry, and it's got even a little fin, and you can even see a bit of its backbone. And there's another fin. That's kind of fun. Okay. And this will look a bit different as it dries. And if I wanted to add a bit of that backbone, I could. Now, if I wanted to do this a little bit better without things being so soft and blurry, I could use another piece of paper and go like this. I could also go get my hair blow dryer from the bathroom, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, I could switch to this little sketching pencil, If I wanted to add some of these weird little, I think like his backbone is kind of showing here. And we have some, maybe some ribs. I'm just kind of be a little bit messy here because again, this guy's millions of years old. Okay, that's fun. I like that. So I really love doing mixed media where we just, mix some stuff up a bit. There. Okay. And yeah, it doesn't really matter that this is a little bit brighter yellow than this. Again, these are millions of years old. They could be different colors. But if I wanted to, I could go over it again with a pencil, and I have no shortage of pencils. So you can always tone things down if you want, or add texture. Like I might get some of this pencil here. I don't know if you can see that. It's still probably a little bit too wet. But yeah, it's a millions of years old fossil, so we don't have to be too exact. But if we want to just try to add a little texture, we can. Okay, what do you guys think of that? Live viewers and replay viewers. Let's see. So I might let you kind of like catch up. Now, while we're drawing, I did want to mention something brand new, and I did put that in the chat box. I'm not sure if you can see that on YouTube or just on StreamYard, but I have a new program, and of course, I don't know where I put the link to it. Oh, here it is. I have a new program. It's on my website at christineelder.com/membership. And that's my monthly membership. And we've already got 39 members. I'm so excited. And they've been communicating with each other on our platform and sharing their sketches from their nature studies and their field trips, as well as from little classes they take with me. The course also includes a monthly master class on a different kind of plant or animal around the world. And so yesterday, our master class was on insects, and next month it's on reptiles, because both of those groups are most common in the summer. It also has an end of the month meetup on Zoom where we all get to share our beautiful faces and share our sketches we've been working on. So there's lots of interesting content, again, in my membership that I've linked, a clickable link in the chat box. And you can also find it other places, Instagram and Facebook. But basically, it's christineelder.com/membership. And it's only $22 a month. And so, yeah. All righty. So what else can we do here? Got some other stories here. Oh, yeah, this is a fossilized wood. Now, I used to live in California along the coast redwoods, and there is a park in Northern California that has all of these giant petrified trees. So this is a fun one to sketch. Now, again, if you want to just use pencil, you can. If you're using pastel, watercolors, whatever you're using, the concept is just to try to see the interesting shapes and textures and colors and three-dimensional form. And again, we want to kind of think about where our sun is coming from and all of that. So I could use, in this case, what could I use? I could use, well, I know what I could use. Here's a fun way. So often I will use colored paper. And colored paper comes in a lot of different colors, but it only usually comes in a few colors if you're buying a whole book of it. So the most common colors are like a light gray or a light brown, like this. And so certain things like this or like this or like this that have a lot of the same color as the paper really speed up your process of drawing something. Carolyn said, you said you're really enjoying my club. Thank you so much. I'm really glad. Okay. And so if we were going to do this, And again, these things are great for beginning, for people that, don't have a lot of experience drawing, because you can't get this wrong. Here's a cool one. These locally are called thunder eggs, and it's basically a rock that looks very boring plain on the outside. But if you crack it in half, it has beautiful crystals on the inside, like that. And you can go to some local places that have a lot of these types of rocks out in the field, and you go and collect them. And they charge you a fee to hike on their property, and then you take a hammer and cut it in half and see what you got. So that's a fun one. Crystals are always really interesting, just like these crystals that I found on my own in the Yuba River watershed of Central California. And these crystals. But anyway, let's see, where are we happening? So yeah, again, it's great for beginning artists. So here's a great one to use my favorite technique of white and black charcoals. Because this rock has so much of the same colors as this, that I can just leave some of it, and all I do is add the darks with the black and some highlights with the white. So that makes it really fun and easy. Okay. And so, yeah, it kind of makes you think differently than when you're working on white paper. It really makes you think more about the highlights. Now, since this is a really dull rock, it's not going to have sharp highlights as if it was a golf ball or an orange or a cue ball that you play pool with, right? So the highlights are going to be a lot more subtle, also more subtle than this piece of polished petrified rock. You can see it's really shiny, and you would draw that a bit differently, adding more highlights. Yeah. So anyway, this could be super fast. Now, again, when you're drawing something that has a lot of different textures and shapes, I always encourage people to touch it, to really feel those shapes. And, a lot of times people use their sense of sight too much. And so they kind of forget about their sense of touch. And I actually have a lesson. Well, I'm not going to give it away because it's a future lesson in my club, but it's a really fun lesson on really learning how to accentuate your sense of touch. So here we go. So anyway, so here's this. So our darkest, well, let's see. First, I guess we could just make a little outline gently for our edge. And again, this can be just really rough because this could really be any shape. I'm making it a little bit bigger than real life just so we can really show those. And then we have a nice cast shadow. Now that's going to be fairly flat value. But again, because we've got lights coming from this way and this way and this way, it's really a little bit more confusing. Now, yeah, but it's all very much the same value within each of those areas. So sometimes it's good to get those darks in. They're not as dark as some of the darks in here, but we could, I don't know, I guess you can see that. Again, you're looking at this a little bit different angle than I am, but there's a darkest shadow here. And sometimes when I'm drawing, I'll add my darkest darks first and my lightest lights. And then again, remember to just leave the middle values as the piece of paper. So that's the darkest. It's kind of mirroring this zigzaggy part of the cut edge of the rock. And then there's a lighter area. And if I wanted to, I could blend those to soften those. And because there's not going to be any texture in there. Unless this rock was sitting on like a rocky beach or sitting in the forest where there's a bunch of pine needles. Since this is on a piece of paper, you shouldn't see a lot of changes in value inside those cast shadows, right? Except between the darkest cast shadow that's being cast by the rock, and then the second shadow that's being cast because there's a second light in this room at a different angle. So just blending those real good. And what's next? Oh, time flies. I always try to not make these longer than an hour. But we still have everybody here, so I guess you're enjoying. Okay, so now I can draw more directly and put a little more pressure on where these dark areas are. And again, they're just about anywhere because these aren't necessarily highlights and shadows. Well, they're both. Your pencil is going to be both indicating the color, like of these, we got black color kind of here and there. Again, just don't make it too uniform or patterned perfect. So there's going to be some black that is the actual black of the rock. And this looks almost like a sedimentary rock with layers, but I do think it's a petrified tree because that's where I got it. So then there's going to be some darker shadows that are indicating actually shadows. So we're using our values in our drawing to indicate both color and cast shadow there. And yeah, again, remember, we're leaving the middle value of our rock as the paper. So we're not going to kind of go overboard with too much here. But I'm just kind of getting this and this and a little bit here and there. And again, if I look at the screen, yeah, it looks really different. So I could make I could kind of be bolder. I always try to remember when I'm drawing the saying of the Olympic snowboarder Shaun White, go big or go home. So I can get bolder here and just have a lot of fun. Okay, so that's a little bit better. And then I can go in with my white, and that could be either like this is a titanium white pencil, or I could use my Uniposca or some other white. I got lots of different white pens here. And then I have lots of different brands of charcoals. Now it is kind of challenging to get a nice, bright, opaque white in a pencil. So you're going to have to, try a few brands. But yeah, I've got a bunch of different brands, and yeah, they are all different lightnesses and darknesses. So like I could use this one compared to this one, pretty similar. If I used this one, that's not as good. So yeah, it's challenging to get a nice dark opaque white. So you're gonna have to buy a few of those. All righty. So then again, if we pretend our sun is mainly coming from here, like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then I can just add some more and just push harder and make those obvious. Again, we're not filling in everything. We're trying to save time because if you're in the field, luckily we aren't today, but if we were, it would be 95 degrees out, and we don't want to sit outside where there's petrified rocks and get a sunburn or heat stroke, right? So that's the nice thing about this paper. So see, it can, again, those middle values, the paper stands in for the middle values. Okay, how are we doing? Any questions or comments? I see just 2 people commenting, but I know we have 7 watching live right now. So I'd love to have you a comment. Let's see. So yeah, there's all kinds of things here. Look at this cool piece. I think this is a piece of sulfur. And these guys, these are glass pieces from Glass Beach in Mendocino. Another great memory. These are all, pieces of glass from, I think, a garbage dump that got softened in the waves, and it's a famous beach now. I think I showed you this already. So the most expensive blue color, blue paint to make in the back in the 12 and 13, 14, 1500s was a blue, because there weren't very many blues in nature. And so there were only a few kinds of minerals that you could grind down to make a blue. So that's why blues were only used in specific places, like in illuminated manuscripts, Bibles and things. Okay, yeah, Carolyn says, love the blue rock. Yeah, I forgot the name of it. Like I said, I'm better at drawing rocks than knowing the names of them. What else do we have here? Well, anyway, so you get the idea that it's National Rock Day. And oh yeah, this was another rock. This I've had since grade school. A little boyfriend of mine in grade school found this heart-shaped rock for me and gave it to me, and I've had it ever since. Okay. All righty. Well, I hope you enjoyed celebrating World Rock Day with me. And I hope you had fun learning about a few of the quick field sketching techniques that I use. And some of you may have followed along, so I hope you enjoyed. And if you didn't, I hope you inspired you to try some of these techniques with a pencil or pen or charcoals or water-soluble pencils or watercolors. And so again, I would love to have you consider joining my program called the Nature Notebook Club. And again, there's a link in the chat box, or you can just find it here, christineelder.com/membership. And there we go. So yeah, this membership I designed because I really wanted a program that was much more interactive with my students, so they could interact with each other and with me. And so it's using a new platform where there's a nice discussion area. It's kind of like a private Facebook page where people feel really safe to share their sketches and their stories about the natural world. And if you know me, you know my focus is not on drawing a pretty picture. It's about learning more about what you're drawing through the process of looking at it long enough. So the drawing process itself is really just a foil for really learning and appreciating something, because we're so used to looking at something just quickly and naming it and moving on, or maybe taking a cell phone photo of it and forgetting about it. But the process of sketching really puts it in your mind. And so that's my focus in my program. My membership is just a monthly membership. It's just $22 a month. And there's no commitment, so you can check it out for a month. And if you don't like it, I'll even give you your money back. But if you do like it, you can stay as long as you want. And the longer you stay, there's more bonuses that are released. Like after you stay 3 months, there's bonuses on all 20. There's discounts, half price discounts on all of my 20 big online courses. So that alone could save you over $150. There's also a bunch of tips that I give. I give 4 main sketching tips or challenges every month. And I also have a library inside the membership of sketching and journaling and painting tips. And I try to keep them all really short and sweet, between like 1 and 10 minutes. so that you can apply those right away, either in the studio like we are here if it's too hot or cold outside, or in your backyard or wherever you go. Angela, thank you so much for joining too. Angela was number 30. I think she was number 34 of my, no, Angela Z, you were number 6 in my membership. And Carolyn was, where are you, Carolyn? I can't read that far away. I know you're right there somewhere. I think number 15. But anyway, I'm learning all the names of my students, and I'm also having one-on-one coaching calls with them. So Carolyn and Angela, if you haven't scheduled your coaching call yet, all of my students, and well, all of my founding members get a 1-hour coaching call with me where we talk about your sketching journey, or just challenges you might have getting out in the field, or getting ideas or inspiration, or maybe how to integrate nature sketching and journaling, maybe with your kids or students. So that's another benefit of the program. And so, yeah, I hope you'll consider joining. Again, that's christineelder.com/membership. I have terrible writing. I'm a much better drawer than I am a writer. But there are links. You can find them other places, on Facebook and Instagram and on YouTube. And here on YouTube, you can go back and look. I've got a behind the scenes tour of the members area of my membership, so that you can check out what it looks like behind the scenes, and you can see how students are interacting and sharing their sketches, and see all the bonuses. There's a lot of bonuses also for my first 100 members, including my downloadable coloring books that I've illustrated of realistic birds, if you like to color, or if you know some kids that do, especially in summer. There's also a bonus of my perspective drawing mini course, which can really help you with 3-dimensional perspective. Also a bonus of a seashell workshop. And speaking of paints, we're talking a little bit about how, paints were made from the time of caveman through the Renaissance era. And so I have a special mini workshop on the history of color and where it comes in the natural world, and how people made paints out of it. And I have a workshop on how to make your own watercolors and your own egg temperates. So those are all bonuses that I'm giving to my first 100 founding members. So yeah, I hope you'll consider joining. We also have a end of the month meetup where we talk about the different things we've done during the month, and how we've done with our sketching challenges that I've given you in the program, as well as if you want to share anything from our different activities I've done here. And then next week, exclusively for members, is my National Moth Week workshop, where we sketch a beautiful moth and learn about moth biology. And then the weekend after that is really fun. One of my favorite weeks of the year, Shark Week. So I love sharks, and I love teaching people about sharks and how to not be as afraid of them. Everybody got afraid of sharks starting with the movie Jaws 50 years ago. And they've had a bad rap ever since. I love sharks. I've been lucky to scuba dive and snorkel with quite a few species like nurse sharks, blacktip reef sharks, and even hammerhead sharks in the Galapagos Islands. So I love teaching people about shark biology and how fascinating they are, and how to sketch them too. So that's another unique thing that you get in the program. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I hope you consider checking that out. And I am putting that link in the chat week again, or in the chat box again. Yeah, Angela says Shark Week, woohoo! Okay, well, I'm going to get going. Again, thank you so much for joining me, live and replay viewers, for our World Rock Day event, and I hope you enjoyed drawing some of sedimentary and metamorphic and volcanic rocks with me, and hope I gave you some ideas. Okay, so I will see you guys around. Yeah, and yeah, I want to just check this out. Yep, thank you so much. We just got a new member, so thank you. Okay, take care. Bye bye.